Well, this one hurts. This one hurt a lot. There's games where they get blown out. There's games where one or two plays decide the game, like the New England one or the Jets one or something like that, where they could have won, and that's frustrating. But this one hurt because they easily could have won this game, but at the same time, they also got their butt kicked.
Yeah,
This sucked.
it was, you losing 16 to 14 to the Ravens is worse than like losing 37-3 to the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the Ravens, and despite what Browns fans think, that's our rival. I mean, it is. I mean, the Browns are
Well, they were the old Browns.
Yeah, the old Browns.
The Ravens are the real Browns.
The real Browns. Yeah, and just 2 weeks ago, you and I were looking at that schedule, thinking, can't believe this, but there's a chance. But in that last 2 weeks, the run defense has totally disappeared. I mean, they gave up 215 yards yesterday, and if you take the second half of the Atlanta game, they've given up 338 yards over the last 2.5 games. And it's just, if there was one thing that and I mean, I know they only let them have 16 points, but you wonder if how run defense would have been half of what it would have been. I bet you they keep them to 10 points. They gave up those 2 field goals, and you couldn't have gone worse for us in the beginning. Pickett gets hurt, comes back, just wasn't feeling it, and here comes Mitch Trubisky. And, there's an audible groan, and there he goes, and he throws 3 picks that killed us. You always like to say you win as a team, you lose as a team, but we lost as a team, but I feel fully that if Pickett's in that game yesterday, we win that football game. I have no question in my mind he would have made a big difference.
So let's look at things from Mitch Trubisky's perspective. Let's go all the way back to I'm guessing March when he first joined the team, when he was like the first day of free agency, Mitch Trubisky signs on. And I'm sure they said, "You're the guy. You're going to be the guy this year." And then they draft Kenny Pickett. It's like, okay, crap. We got a first round rookie quarterback. But still, Mitch, you're the guy. And in training camp, Mitch was the number one guy. He was getting the number one reps.
All of the number one reps.
All the number one reps, which ended up hurting Kenny later on. But and then 14 quarters. They gave him 14 quarters and said, "That's it. Get out." Now, in those 14 quarters, he was absolutely crap. He was tentative. He didn't throw to the middle of the field. He didn't throw anywhere. He didn't run. He didn't do anything. I mean, the offense was absolutely horrible for whatever reason. So now, Kenny Pickett gets hurt in the Tampa game, and Mitch comes in and actually wins the game for them. Cool. And then they're like, "Good job, back on the bench." So now he has this chance. He basically, from his perspective, it's like, "You screwed me." This was his chance to get another starting job in the NFL, and they probably, from his perspective, they got screwed. So now he's coming in and saying, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna get a chance. You know what? Screw this conservative, don't turn the ball over, stuff. I'm going to be as aggressive as possible, and whatever happens, happens." It's not like, "Hey, you're benched because you threw too many interceptions." Like, I got nothing to lose here. So I'm sure he didn't mean to throw interceptions, but still, he did mean to be aggressive, and he kept saying, "It's like, yeah, I was trying to be aggressive." So you can't blame him for basically telling the coaches, "Screw off. I'm going to do what I want because I'm still trying to play for my career."
Yeah, it's an interesting story. We did this podcast after that Tampa game, and I said at the time he did exactly what he wanted a backup quarterback to do. He came in, he didn't make a mistake, he won the game for you. He put you in a position to win, however you want to phrase it. And yesterday you were kind of hoping for the same thing. I kind of thought this could be another great opportunity. The Ravens are down to a backup quarterback. They don't have Lamar Jackson. They are not, and you and I have contended this all year, and I still say it even though we lost. I don't think they're as good as their record indicates. I think the Bengals are much better. And you think it's a winnable game. And he finds a way to lose. And I don't know, like you said, can you put it really all on Matt Canada? Because some of the throws were so aggressive. Even that one nice pass, well, the one pass to Deontay Johnson, or it was either Johnson or Pickett or Pickens. They had to stop to let the ball get to them. And it was a poorly thrown ball. The boos just rained down. So, that wasn't working for him. He got put in another tough situation and he just didn't perform or execute. So, I don't know whether that's him saying, screw you. You guys told me one thing, you did another. I don't really care. But then again, do you say that because, like you say, Joe, is there a team out there could use him next year? He could be out there and he's just tanking his ability to even have another chance at starting. But yeah, the interceptions were awful interceptions to do. They were lackadaisical, lazy passes he shouldn't have done. And it's tough because we do sit here all those first couple of games and we ridicule him for not going down midfield, not going long. So he does that and look what happens. It's a real tough spot to be in for a Steeler fan. It's a tough spot to be in for Mitch Trubisky. And, all the Mason Rudolph fans yesterday on Twitter were killing me. Like, you guys were hating on this guy for months.
God.
And all of a sudden, the Mason Rudolph fan club is back and going. Matt Light must have been having a day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He is a big Mason Rudolph fan.
But, to Trubisky's point, the defense sure as heck didn't help him out. I mean, they had 215 yards rushing without Lamar Jackson. Usually it's Lamar Jackson. You throw him in there, he's good for 40, 60, 80, whatever he's going to run in a game. He was not even there. They had a third string quarterback. You should not lose at home to Tyler Huntley and Anthony Brown. No excuse. No excuse for that. It was just poor play on Trubisky. The offensive line was not good. And the one thing you and I have been hitting almost every week we've done this, the special teams is horrible. Horrible.
The special teams single-handedly cost them the game. If they kick that field goal and don't get it blocked, they win the game. Yeah. It's that simple. Even despite Mitch Trubisky throwing 3 interceptions and the run defense not working, they still could have won the game. This game was right there.
Yeah. And you don't give Baltimore's kicker a short field, that punt with 17-yard punt. I mean, you're almost, unless they turn it over, you've now given the Ravens 3 points guaranteed.
Honestly,
I mean,
drop him now, cut him now. I'm tired. I'm tired of this dude. You're not okay. It's easy for me to sit here in my basement saying stupid things like this, but I understand being a quarterback is very hard. People are trying to kill you. Offensive line, very hard. People are coming right at you. Any position on the field, I understand why it would be difficult. But punter, you get the ball, you take a step and you kick it. That's it. There is very rarely do they come close to blocking it. There's no excuse for that. I do not understand how he's so wildly inconsistent. And then like last year, it's like, well, he had personal things. He had something like, well, what about this year? Stop it.
I give you that too. I mean, I bought into the personal things last year. Like, okay, let's see what the kid can do this year. You guys are being too tough on him. And the inconsistency is not just bad. It's like you said, it's wildly bad. Next week he'll probably bomb a 62-yard punt. And then a week after that, he'll do a 24-yard punt. I mean, it's just the kid needs to go. It's not been good. I mean, that's just really it. I mean, they needed a couple things to come together. Special teams was one of the things that needed to improve. It didn't. Offensive line, horrible. Defense, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, Joe. They got the Panthers next week. Deonta Foreman's having a decent year as a running back for the Panthers. Panthers stink. But if they run all day, they're the 10th best ranked team rushing. The Raiders are 9th. They have Josh Jacobs the next week. Then they get this Ravens team, just put 215 up against them. Then they get Nick Chubb and company in the last week. All 4 of those teams are in the top 10 in the NFL in rushing. Boys, that's scary. You don't know with Pickett. I guess he goes in the concussion protocol. He's probably questionable for the Panthers game. And the thing is, Joe, real back to your point, which is a great one. You could probably say, you know what? Let's let Pickett get healthy. We have a chance. We feel we can beat the Panthers, but we're going to need him against the Raiders and the Ravens and the Browns to finish this out. What Mitch Trubisky just did. How can you say, no problem? Can you take a bench because we got Mitch in there? He's got this.
Yeah. Yeah, after the way Mitch played, I'm okay with Mason. My God, I never thought I would say that, but yeah, I'm okay. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter.
No.
We talked about, what if they go on a run and what if they make the playoffs? Well, if they made the playoffs, they would get destroyed in the first game against Buffalo or Kansas City or something like that. Like, what's the point then?
Yeah.
And all you're doing then is just messing up your draft position. So at this point, it doesn't matter. Their chances to make the playoffs are tiny. So hey, I don't care. I don't care if they lose. I don't care. But yeah, who cares if they play Mason or whatever. I mean, it's a little concerning that Kenny Pickett got another concussion. I don't know how, I don't know if anybody knows what that impact is going to have. I don't think it's enough to say shut him down, but I do think it might be enough to say sit out the next game, just as a precaution.
It could be sitting out, and I mean, you're right, Joe. And a lot of people aren't talking about that. It's not like it's his first trip to this rodeo. And to his point, this year, boy, I can't. I know it's hard to say. Well, this team did it. But I keep going back to the Chiefs. The year they lost in the playoffs. I mean, everyone thought they're going, and everyone kind of knew how, or at least people covering the Chiefs knew how bad that offensive line was. And then it really showed itself in the playoffs. So what did the Chiefs do? They go out, they draft 2 in the top 3 picks, and then they go and get free agency. And now that offensive line is probably one of the best, if not the best in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's what the Steelers got to do. I know you and I were doing our podcast. And we aren't, we're not in the sidelines, but I don't see any way around it. You've got to start protecting Kenny. You've got to start opening holes like the Ravens holes. I'm glad we got Kenny Pickett, but one of the most dominant players in that field was the center from Iowa on the Ravens offensive line yesterday.
Who they could have had.
Yep. I'm not. Again, I'm glad they drafted Kenny, but boy, that kid, I really wanted that kid. I watched him beat up on Penn State defensive linemen for the last 4 years, and he's just a beast. And you need to go find those guys. That's to me the most glaring thing at this point. Get the offensive line addressed, fix a lot of other things, but
offensive line and defensive line desperately need to be addressed. And you know what? Maybe I think Cole at center is okay. I think Daniels at right guard is okay. And I guess Chooks at right tackle is okay. We could learn to live with them. But Dan Moore at left tackle and Dotson at left guard, they need to get the heck out of here.
Yeah, Dan Moore and Harvin can take the same ticket.
Dan Moore and Presley Harmon, go. I'll pay for your Uber. Go.
Right. Yes. It's just it's been so bad, and you're almost at the point where you're jealous. I mean, the Ravens were opening those holes in that line yesterday for Dobbins, and you're like, oh my God, why we used to do that? Remember Bettis or Willie Parker just running free because they're Alan Faneca or somebody would destroy somebody, and I think you're going to see one of two things at this point. Depending how they finish, because they could easily drop these last 4 or 5 games. You could see a total fire sale, or you could see like a partial rebuild. I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see what Omar Khan does. It's now his show.
It's his show, yeah. And who's that other guy? Andy Weidel, who was from the Eagles. And the Eagles are all about strong offensive lines, very strong defensive line. Bring it. I mean, a strong offensive line and a strong defensive line solves so many problems.
It does.
It's having a defense that has awesome outside linebackers and all this awesome and an awesome safety. It doesn't matter if you have a lousy line. And nothing against Cam Hayward. He's trying out there. He's fine. But God, everyone else, and Larry Ogunjobi, I thought he would be. I'm guessing he's hurt or something like that.
Yeah,
but
he's been great when he's healthy.
When he's healthy. I think you need keep him fresh. Don't just bring one person in. Bring in 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that, and keep rotating them so they're fresh.
Which is what the Bengals do. And I mean, they don't have any super studs on that defensive line, but they're young, they're athletic, and they work guys in. And what Cam Hayward has, maybe a year or 2 years left on the current contract, and he's going to be going close to 13 or 14. So
yeah, he's near the end of his career.
You see the problem we're in now when you just kept going with, the offensive line. It was, DeCastro so good for so long, and you kept ignoring the fact that, guess what? They're getting older. The clock's going up.
Right.
Well,
right.
I love Cam Hayward. He's going to be on that wall of fame for us someday. He may even be in Canton someday. But that someday is coming a lot sooner than down the road. And you need to start replacing guys like that.
As of right now, the Steelers would have the 13th pick.
I'd rather yeah, go ahead.
I would, if they could keep a pick in the top 15, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, I think so. I do. Obviously the Texans probably have a lock on that, but number 1 pick and the top 10 are probably pretty locked in, but you never know. But yeah, I felt last year and even the year before that, I thought that the team that actually had the best NFL draft was the Ravens. And I know we started top of the podcast saying they're not that good, but they're good enough. And they're 9-4 now. And, they still have a chance they're probably going to make the playoffs, and who knows from there. So they're also a young team. And there's a lot of things there that I wish the Steelers would have, especially their offensive line. And yeah, so
it's so frustrating because anytime I see them make moves, I'm just angry because it's like, dang, why does that team have to be in our division? Why is a team that always makes smart moves, always gets good people, always makes the right moves? Why do we have to deal with them? Why can't we deal with being the same division as the Jets when they sucked, or
Well, that's what makes it fun too, right? That's why we hate the Ravens. They hate us. We hate them, whatever. And that's why I still say I think I even told my wife, I said, this is the NFL draft. I'm kind of thinking my friend Joe might have a draft party. So count me out for Thursday and Friday, because I think we could have a lot of fun with that. And
I think, yeah,
boy, the only things that I'm really happy going into next year, I really, really like Kenny. I do. Boz is great. We got Boz. We got the kicker locked up. And we got some young talented players. I'd love to see Deontay Johnson hold on the ball better. But I'd love to see Deontay Johnson under a system like the Bengals, where it's more slants, more cross routes that are high cross routes. You're crossing it to 15 instead of the 5, like a Matt Canada offense. I'd love to see them open it up with Kenny. But to open that all up, he's got to stay upright. You can't have him. I love when he runs. He runs smart. But, man, guys, you got to protect him on the offensive line. So, I don't know, Joe. It was a winnable game again on Sunday, a winnable game that they let slip through their fingers. It wasn't like they got blown out, but it was like they got blown out. It's like you said. If Lamar Jackson played in that game, oof, God only knows what the score may have been.
I don't know. I think it would have been. I mean, he probably would have destroyed him. I don't know, but I mean, Lamar Jackson is just so different. It's just so different. Probably. I don't know.
I mean, I think he'd be stupid to leave, but they don't have him signed yet either, and there's a chance he walks. So, but I think with the talent that could be there, the young talent, I think he'd be dumb to go. But if he goes, go.
Listen, Ravens fans, if you're watching, whoever is saying let Lamar walk because we have Tyler Huntley, stop. This is an intervention. Stop. You just you're embarrassing yourself. Just pay Lamar. It's time to pay Lamar Jackson. Just pay the man, and that's it. Tyler Huntley's a good backup. He's a fine backup, and he's Lamar light. He's a dollar store version of Lamar. Cool, but he's not the replacement. People, come on.
No, and it's weird. I don't like the fact we play these guys in another 2 weeks in Baltimore. I just don't know, Joe. Can they get that stuff fixed up by 2 weeks? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. This was an embarrassment. I think Cam Hayward basically just said that.
Yeah.
He basically said that they just ran it down our throat and there was nothing we could do about it. That's a point of personal embarrassment. You come back from that. If you have any pride, if you have any thought of, and maybe you're just not good enough. Maybe you aren't. But if you have any pride, you're going to come back and say, we're going to stop the run. We're going to fix this. Or we're just going to redeem ourselves. They have to.
Deontay Foreman, like I said, he's had a good year. I think he's up to about 700 yards for them, about 5 touchdowns. He's a good back. He could do some damage, but they could button him up. And then, I think you said a couple of weeks ago when we did the cast, there's no way they lose that game against the Raiders, the Immaculate Reception game. True, but Josh Jacobs is arguably the best running back in the NFL right now, or at least he's the hottest. And
he is.
Boy, that matchup scares me right now.
Yes, the Raiders are idiots and they lost to Baker Mayfield, who just showed up to work, but still, that's an emotional game for the Raiders too. So Josh Jacobs is a beast. They still got Devontae Adams. Carr is not that bad. They have potentially a good offensive. They have an idiot coach, an absolute idiot of a coach, but they still have some weapons.
Yeah, let's see who figures out how to lose this game worse. Could be the
Matt
idiot.
Cannon versus Josh McDaniels is the chess match of the century.
Right. Chess playing checkers, and that could be just one of those accident-prone games, but disappointing to say the least, because we did think this was a winnable game just 2 weeks ago, and they beat Atlanta. We thought that they would, but if the run defense is there, then I think it totally reverses everything. The run defense is there, and they're able to hang in some of these games. I look at these teams left, and they're beatable. The Panthers are beatable. The Raiders are beatable. The Ravens are beatable. The Browns are beatable. But, man, they have to fix some things real quick, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think Stephon Tuitt, ever since he's been gone, they have not been able to fix the run defense.
No, he was such a huge loss.
He was a huge loss, and they did nothing to when was the last? When did they draft a defensive lineman, like 4th, 5th round or whatever?
Right.
Come on. No, that's something that should have been addressed earlier.
And what was with Trent Green yesterday saying, there's Devin Bush, he's one of the best. What? I couldn't believe. I was wondering who's picking up on that, and then of course it all started coming. Like, what game is he watching? Devin Bush is one of the best out there. No,
the nicest thing you can say about Devin Bush is he's not horrible. He's not the horrible. Worst. We thought he would be absolutely horrible, like from coming into the season, like in training camp. I remember how like he just decided to stop working. So he's not the worst player in the history of the league, but still,
no. He plays that helper linebacker role. He's a helper linebacker. He grabs a guy and yells help till someone else comes and helps tackle him for him, and that's Devin Bush, and he's gone. After this year, he's not coming back. Steelers didn't tender him an offer. So
Devin Bush, Harvin, and who else am I driving to the airport?
DJ Moore.
Who?
They're Dan Moore.
Dan Moore. Yeah, Dan Moore. Yeah. Dan Moore. Okay, so now we got to get a van.
Yeah.
When I contact Uber, I gotta say we gotta get a van or a bus or something to take these people.
Super
to the
shuttle or whatever it is.
Super shuttle, yeah.
And so I don't know. I think the more interesting thing is Steelers could be after the season. What's going to go on between now and next April? It really could set up next season. So Sunday's definitely not what you wanted to see.
It's it was just so frustrating. Another frustrating thing is when Kenny Pickett's out there, he is running almost as much as he's throwing. And when he runs, it's pretty effective. The few times, the brief time he was out there, he was almost looking like Lamar Jackson out there. I'm like, did he just think that somebody had to be Lamar Jackson in the Steelers Ravens game? Is this Lamar Jackson's not? I'll be him. And Mitch Trubisky did not run at all. He has the ability. He has the ability to run. He just didn't. Maybe I was just thinking,
Yeah.
maybe he didn't run because he was afraid if he got hurt, then there's no third string because Mason wasn't inactive. Maybe he thought that. I don't know.
No,
But then he didn't run when he was starting in the beginning of the season.
yeah, I don't think he has the football IQ. You know, I think I look at Kenny and how he runs. It reminds me a lot of John Elway. Like when Elway was young, that was the thing. You know, I mean, once you got used to watching him, but he was a great running quarterback and he ran smart. He never coughed up the ball. He waited till he needed to. And Ben was the same way in his younger career. That's why Ben wore number 7, right?
Because
To
of
emulate
Elway,
John
yeah.
Elway. They were two very similar, smart runners. And Kenny, I see the same thing. I mean, and I think that's just an intelligence thing, Joe. I don't think Trubisky has it. He's a good, maybe lifetime backup quarterback, but he's not a Kenny Pickett. And he doesn't know when to run it and when he doesn't know when to hold it and when to fold him.
You nailed it on the head. You nailed it on the head. He's been playing for 6 years. He just does not have the football IQ, and neither does Mason Rudolph, really, and that's why he is where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He not only does he not know when to run or throw, he doesn't know when to like. He even said it's like, oh, I should have used my eyes to throw off the blah blah blah. Like I mean, yes, and then, yeah, he didn't have that much practice, but still, he just does not have that intelligence.
No, and I think Pecky was even mentioned in an interview a few weeks ago how, you know, he didn't realize at the time, but just appreciating how Ben had that power pump fake and, you know, to do that more. And he's nobody I've ever seen can do it like Ben. And Kenny started to do that a little bit too. So Kenny
got to watch because he doesn't have the size hands that Ben did.
No, Ben had his monsters. He still has them. But yeah, it's to me, it's just he's just that much better. We have the right guy quarterback. It's now keeping him safe for the rest of this season and getting better to get him where he can be.
I think I wonder now that the playoffs are, forget about it. I wonder if they'll approach things differently. Maybe they'll play certain younger players more or something like that. Another thing that's really hurt this defense is TJ Watt. I don't even think he's half of half of full strength. He's probably like 30-40% of what he usually is. Dude, sit out. Like, we get it. You're a warrior. We're not questioning your credentials. Just take it easy, man.
Don't injure yourself further. We need you next year. I agree to a point. I just don't think it's in his nature to sit out and,
Never.
But Tomlin is so stubborn in the way he approaches. It's just like square peg round hole, man. I don't see him doing a lot different over this next month. He's still going to do what he does. And, because they needed to make changes and they didn't adjust all season. I mean, for lack of a better term, for the last 6 years, because this year, and I'm pretty sure it's in the books at this point, this will be 6 years since our last playoff win.
Yeah.
Which, considering the talent that's been here during that time, to me is just.
Yeah, that's sad, and that's
sad and disappointing.
Like Tomlin is going to pass now because I believe they're in a rebuild, and the rebuild started last year. This is year 2 of the year rebuild, and I'm guessing next year will be the last year of the quote unquote rebuild. So hopefully, so we'll see. But yeah, you have to wonder. It's like how long is this going to last? Like, I mean, I already think he has Andy Reid disease, where good coach to just staying in the same place too long.
Yes.
Another thing, we keep talking about Matt Canada, how horrible he is. What about the defensive coordinator? Dude, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Like, this is supposed to be this wonderful three-headed coaching genius collective of Terrell Austin, Brian Flores, and Tomlin. Well, most of the year, the defense has been disappointing. And I know a lot of the year TJ Watt hasn't been there, but still.
Yeah, you go back to that Bengals game where the backup running back just destroyed us. I mean, it killed us. We had no answer for that. No answer again yesterday. Dobbins, it's not like he was off 6 weeks. It looked like he's been playing every game. Just Yeah. And like I said, it just doesn't get any better. In fact, I mean, they have probably the worst schedule for any remaining defense going against opposing running backs. I mean, it's bad. And that's why I say I think you're really grasping for straws if you think, oh, they're going to tighten up. They can do it based on what? Yeah, the defense and special teams, they've been let down all the way across the board. That's why it's been so frustrating. Last year, it was like, I can't believe we're still hanging around, but the defense was kind of stingy. Special teams was pretty good. This year, it's just been so inconsistent across the board every single game. So, yeah, I mean, there's not been a convincing win this season.
No,
there hasn't been
it's been a lot of close, lucky games.
Yeah, we're gonna hang in there. We're gonna make you sweat it out. We're probably not gonna win though, because So,
when we talked after the Colts game, you said if they played any other team, they're probably not winning, and that's the thing. That's they have that level. It's like they could beat the crappy teams, barely, maybe,
right.
But that's about it. They can't beat any team. I mean, the Ravens are half their team is in the hospital, and they still lost to them. So,
well, it turns out that first game against the Bengals where we beat them, that was like the microcosm for the entire season. We beat them as time expired on the clock in overtime, and we barely beat them. If it wasn't for Trubisky's pass up the middle to Muth, that's a tie.
right.
So they got a little lucky there, and Boz is a great kicker, and we squeaked out a win in Cincinnati, and that's been the mantra all season. Those 5 wins we have been squeaked by a little bit.
Yeah. And then the funny thing is they're playing Carolina, and one of those teams is playing for the playoffs, but it's not the Steelers.
No.
Panthers.
Well, the NFC South is just so
pathetic. Oh my God. Every team is under 500.
Yeah.
And Carolina is only 1 game behind Tampa.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tampa got, murdered last night. So it's, so like I said, 4 games. I think if this was a typical, what's typical anymore? We're used to these 4 games. We'll run this. We'll win 3 out of 4 and make the playoffs and get a home game. Not these 4 games.
Not
with this rush defense. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not only is this. I mean, I don't know what the line is, but I'd have to say Carolina is favored, and maybe. I mean, they're playing for their lives. They're playing for the playoffs. They're gonna play. They're gonna ball out. It's
not a bad Carolina defense. It's not great, but it's a better Carolina defense, and they'll be ready. And we're probably not going to know until Wednesday or Tuesday afternoon if Kenny's even able to play. And that's probably going to move the line. If Kenny plays, it's probably 1.5. If Kenny's not playing, I can't see how they're not 2.5, 3-point favorites.
Right. And I think ever since they fired their coach, I think Carolina's like 4-4 or something like that.
They are, and then I think that's at Carolina, right? So that's a home game for Trubisky. Yeah. I mean, he went to UNC. Who knows?
Oh, goody.
Yeah, that'll make a difference. But I mean, you're clinging on a crap like that. Like, well, if it's Mitch, he did play at UNC, so maybe he'll play good in front of his hometown crowd in Carolina, where 40 fans go.
Right.
That stadium would be black and gold.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah. It was the one thing that was fun about that Atlanta game was like, geez, I mean, there's that many Steeler fans in Atlanta, but I mean, it was easily a Steelers crowd in Atlanta. That part is still alive and beating and probably will never die. So that was a lot of fun, but it'll be the same way this Sunday. That Carolina, I have friends who live in Mount Holly. There are 2 Steeler bars in between them and downtown Charlotte. 2 Steeler bars. And they're packed. So yeah, it'll be crazy.
Have you ever heard of any other team having their own bar in the Pittsburgh area? I've never heard of.
No, I did run into, for work this week. I was in Frederick, Maryland, of all places. preparing for Baltimore, and all the Baltimore fans are walking around, and there was an Anchor bar down there. And I didn't think at first this isn't the same. And yeah, it was. You went in there and there was a Frederick Buffalo Bills fan club, and you're 25 minutes from downtown Baltimore. But in Pittsburgh, no. I don't know of a Jets bar, a Giants bar, a Cowboys bar, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. But I think almost every city has a Pittsburgh bar.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's so cool. All right, sir. We'll see what happens. Oh God, what are we gonna talk? When are we gonna talk again? It's the 12th, and then the next time would be like Christmas week, and I don't know. We'll figure it out, but
we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's always a pleasure to be on this show.
Always, and it's a pleasure having you. So, all right.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. See you.
Yep. You have a good night.
You too.